Hey YouTube, it's time for another quick market recap. Today is Sunday, August 25th, and I think we're in store for another interesting week. The market has clearly rallied quite strongly off of the lows over the last couple weeks. We have NVIDIA earnings coming up. Here real quick, the U.S. economic calendar for this week. We do have some data coming out, consumer confidence, jobless claims, a couple different things. Obviously last week we did hear from Powell at Jackson Hole, and rate cuts before the end of the year are on the table. Now it's just a question of how much, 25 or 50 basis points, or what they're going to start with in September. So the market obviously like that. Here we'll take a quick look at VTI, the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, before we dive into some of the VolumeLeaders data. This is the monthly chart, or monthly candles. This most recent monthly candle, which is going to close next week, it's pretty crazy, right? So I mean, obviously we moved down quite strongly. Let's see, we opened at 273 or thereabouts, and then moved down close to 10%, and then now have moved all the way back up to above the monthly open, up 10, almost 11% off the lows. So this I'll obviously reserve judgment, right? We need to kind of see what the next couple of weeks hold. September seasonality is typically a fairly weak month, and you'll notice the last time we kind of had this downdraft, we did see quite a lot of wicking. One thing I think we're just going to continue to see volatility increase, right? So on VTI, if we get a break of 279 or 280 in the next week or two, looking to mid to high 280s as a potential target, and then kind of assessing from there. Now, with that said, we do also have some bearish RSI divergence playing out over the last 6 or so years. Pretty high time frame, so I think it's worth keeping in mind. And yeah, so let's go ahead and dive in. We are going to start off with the SPMO, which is the Invesco Momentum ETF. We did have a number 1 and a number 2 ranked trade recently, and then we're starting to see price breaking out. I think one of the trends that I'm seeing in the data this week is that mid caps, momentum, growth, etc., seem to be catching a bid again. So to me, this looks like a breakout play. If we move higher over 90 and a half, 91 or so, then maybe you can target along up into 92 or a little bit higher. VOT, which is another mid cap growth ETF. We had a number 3 ranked trade recently for roughly $100 million. And again, very similar to the last chart, starting to see a breakout. This looks pretty bullish. So obviously seeing how price reacts at the highs from mid July, and seeing if this can break a little bit higher. But again, it definitely seems to be that investors are targeting mid cap for a catch up trade. So here we have QID, which is the ProShares Ultra Short QQQ. Relatively speaking, this ranked trade here, it's 31, was close to 28 times larger than the average trade, and this was $30 million. Now this is a somewhat of a less traded ultra short ETF, and so SQQQ being probably the highest volume one. But this one's definitely still interesting. We can see here we have this volume shelf, a period of price consolidation, and obviously someone I think is getting bullish on this. We would look towards the next 40 to 41 level to see how price reacts around this volume shelf. But something to keep in mind, right? So one thing, looking at the charts, QQQ has not had nearly as strong of a bounce off the lows as the S&P. Or SPY, SPX, etc. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, it does seem like some of the tech names have been lagging a little bit. That remains to be seen if that's mostly the majors that are going to lag, and if they're going to catch up here soon. But again, something to keep in mind here. I think that there is potential risk, just given how strongly we've moved off the lows for a pullback. So I think just kind of watching some of these names and seeing how price reacts off the lows, buyers step in, etc. Here we have CWeb, which is Direxion's China bull 2x. So this one we had a number 1 rank trade. Again, this one is, fairly small in terms of dollar value, roughly $7 million. But still notable. I think, Michael Burry, famous from the Big Short and the short that he had back in 2008. He's quite long China. Obviously, I think a lot of institutional interest has been targeting China for a while, Alibaba, etc. Again, this is consolidating here right around this volume shelf. So what I would look for is beginning to move up, maybe breaking above 30, and then potentially looking to 32 to 34 level, maybe filling this gap up here. But yeah, Chinese names are looking pretty good. So we'll see how the momentum carries through over the next couple of weeks. And then we have SFM, Sprouts Farmers Market, which is a grocery chain. So we had a number 4 ranked trade recently, as well as an 11 ranked trade. And again, we can see that price gapped up and now has been in a period of consolidation, and it's consolidating right above this this volume shelf, or kind of between these 2 volume profile peaks. And again, here, I think, this one's pretty straightforward, watching for it to break out of this range. So if you were to kind of draw a rectangle or lines at this high and this low, watching to see if we get a breakout on volume or a breakdown. Obviously, we do have this gap below. So maybe how I'd play this is looking for a break of, what is this, 98, 99, or, if you want to be a little more conservative, watching for a break of 100, nice round psychological level. If we get that on volume, maybe targeting some longs moving higher, 105, 110. And again, if we get a break of 96 or 95, another kind of round level, we do have this big gap in the volume profile. So it might look for a gap fill here back down to 89 or 90 or so. So another interesting one, this is a name that, let's see, this trade was for $114 million, and this was 45 times the average relative trade size. So again, someone here is taking a not insignificant stake. Again, we can't be sure if this was a buy or a sell. So that's why it's just important to watch for the breakout or the breakdown, and seeing if volume steps in, maybe also watching options flow to kind of get a read on direction. All right, so we have RNA, which is Avidity Biosciences, so a biotech. We had a number 1 ranked trade here recently, and it looks like this was for $250 million. Again, relatively larger than average trade. So RNA broke out, gapped up, and then has been in a period of consolidation. Now here, potentially a double top. You could even potentially see a head and shoulders playing out. If this right shoulder started to form, the completion of that would be right around 29 or so. But again, I'd say just kind of watching how price reacts around these blocks here. So between $40 and let's see, what is this? Yeah, between $39 and $41. So as long as price can hold above that and start moving back up, potentially get long here. But again, if we start to see this right shoulder banging out, you could look for shorts for a gap fill back down to 30 or so, which is a pretty decent sized move. Long term though, this has been in a pretty strong uptrend, so that is worth keeping in mind. All right, and then we have GIL, which is Gildan Activewear, a clothing company. Again, over the last year or so, it's been in a pretty strong uptrend. We had a number 1 ranked trade here recently. So the question becomes, is this a sell? Again, on charts like these, when we see quite strong extension, not much trading activity, and then we see top 5 ranked trade pretty much right at the highs, I'm always a little more inclined to think that this is potentially a sell. We can see that price had a bit of a pullback, and now it's retesting the $42.5 to $43 level. So just watching, this is a pretty clear level here. If it can get back above 43, move up on volume, then potentially this was a buy. But relatively this trade, $74 million, which is 54 times relative size. We've actually kind of had a string of infrequent but fairly large trades. So yeah, this one could be interesting. If we did get a breakdown on this, I'd probably look at the retest of kind of this level here, which is what is that, 38 or so. So yeah, now let's move over into the chip and semiconductor space. Again, as I mentioned, NVIDIA has earnings this week, so that is going to be a big determining factor on the bullishness for the rest of this sector, as well as, probably some read through into just tech names in general and QQQ. I think, odds favor another strong quarter from them. I personally don't have any strong opinions, but the options flow, dark pools, etc., it seems like there's been a lot of buying activity. We got some after hours bids on NVIDIA last Friday. Dark pool blocks. So yeah, and then we can see here ARM the same. We had this period of consolidation after a move off the lows, starting to break out again. If we continue to see follow through here, I'd look for a test of the lower end of this volume shelf right around 153 or so. So pretty decent move up, 135 to 153, 155 maybe. But yeah, definitely an interesting sector to keep an eye on this week. And again, if there's anything that comes out from NVIDIA, say they beat, but their guidance indicates any type of slowing in growth, that could obviously be a risk. So any of these positions in the semi space, I'd play these pretty tight and keep an eye on your stops. All right, and then we have ASTS, which is AST Space Mobile. This name has been very hot and has kind of turned into somewhat of a meme name recently. We can see a flurry of top 20 buying activity ever since April or so of this year. Decent trend up, right? I believe that there are some talks of contracts or something like that. I don't follow this name too closely, but all over Twitter and Wall Street Bets, they've been talking about this, and it's moved up quite strongly. Had something of a parabolic move here, and then again you see a number 7 and a number 12 ranked trade right at the highs, starting to move down. So again, I think you kind of have a pretty clean play here with this 3 and 5 ranked trades right at $31. So as long as price is pulled back and it can stay above 30 to 31, potentially move back up, and then we'll see if we get a double top or a breakout into a new high. Obviously, if there is kind of news that people are waiting on, contracts, things like that, that will strongly influence the direction. But then again, if this loses $30 to $31, I think that it could get back to the low 20s pretty quickly. So yeah. And then ETHE, which is the Grayscale Ethereum Trust. Another interesting one. So crypto in general has been looking pretty good. Bitcoin has moved back up to 65K or so. And the crypto space has kind of lagged, and I think that there could be a catch-up trade here. Obviously, we can see a bit of an Adam and Eve bottom, right? So like a sharp V and then a rounding second bottom, double bottom. And we can see this flurry of buying activity, 11, 9, 8 ranked trades, and then price starting to move up. We do have this gap. So potentially looking to 27 or so to see this gap fill. And then obviously we'll be at this volume shelf, see how price reacts around there. But I do think, personally, the crypto space has lagged somewhat, and has good odds of catching up. Again, really, as goes Bitcoin, so too does the rest of this space. So if you want to keep an eye on Bitcoin, kind of as an analog to the rest of the crypto market, losing 62K or 60K obviously would kind of invalidate some of the bullish thesis on most of these names. All right, and then GLDM, so gold and precious metals, gold particularly breaking out to new highs recently. And yeah, space looks strong. I mean, kind of mixed signals from the market, right? It's definitely interesting. Now we can see here, most recently we had a $120 million trade, ranked number 4, pretty high in terms of relative size as well. And oh wait, hold on. Let's see. The number 9 and number 10 ranked trades are the ones that were most recent, and roughly for $100 million each. again, here, I think, keeping an eye on gold and some of the gold miners, if they start to break out, if this one in particular breaks above 50, I think, good potential to move higher. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or requests, feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.